Whispers in the hostel. The university campus looked peaceful from the outside. Lush green lawns, colonial-style buildings, laughter echoing from classrooms. But as the sun dipped beyond the horizon, the campus changed. The trees cast longer shadows, the pathways looked deserted, and the silence wasn't ordinary. It was heavy, almost suffocating. People often said the campus came alive at night, but no one really knew what they meant. The boys' hostel. It started in the boys' hostel. On a warm summer night, second-year student Arjun woke up to the sound of water dripping. He rubbed his eyes and checked his phone. 2:37 a.m. The hostel was quiet except for the faint hum of ceiling fans. He noticed his roommate, Kiran, wasn't on the bed. The bedsheet was tossed aside, and the bathroom door was slightly ajar. "Kiran?" Arjun whispered. No response. He pushed the door open. The bathroom light flickered, a sickly yellow glow. The tap was dripping, and the mirror had something written on it. Arjun froze. His throat went dry. The writing wasn't with a marker. It looked smeared, reddish-brown, like dried blood. Before he could react, the door behind him slammed shut. Bang! The lights went out. Arjun screamed. When the warden and other students rushed in, they found Arjun shivering, clutching the sink. Kiran was nowhere to be found. That was the first disappearance. The whispers. Over the next few weeks, 2 more boys went missing. No blood, no struggle, just gone. People whispered about the old abandoned building behind the girls' hostel, Block D. They said the missing boys had girlfriends and used to sneak out at night to meet them there. No one believed in ghosts, but fear started to settle in like dampness in the walls. Shift to girls' hostel. The real terror began when it crossed the gate into the girls' hostel. At first, it was almost laughable. Missing innerwear. Bras, panties, vanished overnight from drying lines. The girls thought it was some perverted prank by boys. The warden tightened security. Lights were installed, night rounds increased. But the incidents didn't stop. One night, Priya, final-year student, was returning from the study room at 11:45 p.m. The corridor was silent, except for the clicking of her sandals. As she walked past room 107, she heard a faint whisper. "Priya." She froze, turned around. No one. The door of 107 was slightly open. She peeped inside. Empty. The whisper came again. Closer this time. Her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. Nice pink bra. Her heart stopped. She ran to her room, slammed the door shut, and cried herself to sleep. The next morning, her pink bra was missing. The first big incident. 2 weeks later, the warden called for an urgent meeting. One of the girls, Megha, was missing. Her friends last saw her in the TV room at 9 p.m. CCTV cameras caught nothing, except a flickering shadow near the back exit. Her body was never found. Rumors spread like wildfire. Girls started locking themselves in after 8 p.m. Hostels felt like prisons. The haunted building. The old Block D stood like a corpse of concrete. Broken windows, vines crawling up the walls, a blackened door that looked like a gaping mouth. People said it was once a laboratory shut down after a student committed suicide. No one went there, except couples looking for privacy. And that's when the masked man began to appear. Whispers in the girls' hostel. The tension that gripped the boys. Hostels started to fade from the students, conversations after a few weeks, but the fear wasn't gone. It had just moved to a different place. This time, it was the girls' hostel. It began so insignificantly that no one thought of it as an omen. Incident 1. The vanishing undergarments. One evening, Priya, a first-year student, came back to her room after the evening study hour. She opened her cupboard and froze. Her innerwear was missing. At first, she laughed it off, thinking maybe she had left them in the washroom or misplaced them. But when she checked the washroom and laundry bucket, they were nowhere to be found. Maybe some girl is playing a prank, her roommate said, trying to calm her. But in the next 2 days, the same thing happened to 2 more girls, Kavya and Nandini. Each time, only their undergarments disappeared, nothing else. The hostel warden, Mrs. Pushpa, dismissed it as some students' mischief. She scolded the girls for carelessness and told them not to make a fuss. But a strange sense of being watched settled over the hostel. Girls began double-locking their cupboards, yet the thefts continued. The whispers started. Someone's coming into the hostel at night? But the doors are locked. How? Incident 2. The breathing in the dark. One night, Sneha, a senior, woke up to drink water. The power had gone out, so the entire hostel was drowned in darkness. As she fumbled for her bottle, she heard it. Breathing. Heavy. Slow. Too close. Her roommate was asleep, turned to the wall. The sound wasn't coming from her. Then, just as suddenly, the breathing stopped. Sneha froze, clutching the bedsheet to her chest, straining to hear. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. Then, the faint creak of the door. By the time the lights returned, the door was wide open. She told the warden the next day, but Pushpa laughed it off. "Bad dreams. Stress before exams, that's all." Incident 3. The first assault. A week later, reality struck brutally. Anjali, a second-year student, had stayed back in the study hall after everyone left. She walked back to the hostel alone through the narrow garden path behind the campus. The night was eerily quiet, not even the usual chirping of crickets. Halfway to the hostel, she felt it. A hand clamping her mouth, another grabbing her waist. Before she could scream, she was dragged into the shadows near the old banyan tree. She struggled, nails clawing the air, but her attacker was too strong. A man, face hidden by a black mask, pinned her down and violated her. His breath was harsh, animalistic, his grip bruising. When it was over, he whispered something chilling into her ear. "Don't tell anyone. If you do, I'll find you again." Then he melted into the darkness. Anjali stumbled back to the hostel, sobbing, her clothes torn, her body shaking. She didn't go to the police. She didn't even tell the warden. She just packed her things the next morning and left the hostel without explanation. The others whispered, but no one knew the truth. Incident 4. A date gone wrong. A few days later, Ravi, a boy from the engineering wing, sneaked into the campus garden at night with his girlfriend Mira, a hostel resident. They slipped behind the abandoned building, the one everyone avoided because it was rumored to be haunted. The night was moonless. The building loomed like a skeleton of concrete and rust. They were kissing, whispering sweet nothings when they heard a sound, a soft crunch of footsteps. "Who's there?" Ravi called, trying to sound bold. No answer. Then, before they could react, a masked figure lunged from the shadows. He punched Ravi hard in the face, knocking him to the ground. Mira screamed, but a cloth was shoved into her mouth. Her hands were tied with something rough, a piece of rope. Ravi, semi-conscious, could only watch helplessly as the man dragged Mira behind the building. Her screams faded into the night. By morning, Mira was missing. The college issued a notice saying she had gone home for personal reasons. Ravi never spoke about what happened. He dropped out 2 weeks later. These 2 incidents were just the beginning. Over the next few months, the masked man became a nightmare nobody dared to talk about. Girls disappeared without explanation. Some were found dead in dry wells or forest edges, mutilated beyond recognition. Others were never found at all. The university hushed everything up, fearing scandal. Parents were told their daughters had eloped. Local police took bribes to stay silent. But the fear grew like a disease. Whispers spread that the old building behind the girls' hostel was cursed. The students called it Narak Bhavan, the House of Hell. The House of Hell. The whispers about Narak Bhavan, the abandoned building behind the girls' hostel, grew louder. Some said they heard chains dragging on the floor at night. Others claimed they saw a shadow standing in the window. even though no one lived there. Most girls avoided even looking at the building after sunset. But fear doesn't stop fate. Incident 5. The Return of Blood. One rainy night, a group of girls was returning from a college function. They had stayed late for dance practice and were laughing as they crossed the path near the old building. Suddenly, water dripped on one girl's shoulder. She looked up, thinking it was rain. But the sky was clear. Another drop fell, thicker, darker. They all looked up. Something hung from the terrace of Narak Bhavan. A body, a girl's body, tied with ropes, swinging like a broken doll, her blood dripping onto the ground. The girls screamed and ran to the hostel. When they brought the warden and security, the body was gone. Only a pool of blood remained, soaking into the mud. Pushpa, the warden, scolded them again. Too much imagination. Stop making up ghost stories. But that night, 3 girls packed their bags and left the hostel quietly. Incident 6. The Basement Room. 2 adventurous seniors, Latha and Shalini, decided to prove there was nothing inside Narak Bhavan. They took their phones and went in at midnight. The corridors smelled of rotting meat. The walls were covered with strange scratches like someone had clawed them. They kept whispering to each other, their phone flashlights cutting through the darkness. See? Nothing here. All fake stories. Then they saw a door at the end of the corridor, half broken. Behind it, a staircase led down, to the basement. The smell was unbearable now. Flies buzzed around. They went down slowly, the wooden stairs creaking under their feet. At the bottom, they saw something that made their blood run cold. A table, chains, bloodstains, torn clothes, women's innerwear. Before they could react, the door slammed shut behind them. A voice echoed from the darkness. "I told you not to come here." The girls screamed, but no one heard them. The next morning, their phones were found outside the building, screens shattered. The girls were never seen again. Campus reaction. After this, the hostel turned into a prison of fear. Girls refused to leave their rooms after 6 p.m. Parents began calling every night. Some came to take their daughters back, but the college authorities begged them to stay quiet, promising everything was under control. But the attacks didn't stop. They became more brutal, more daring. A girl was found locked inside the old building's bathroom, her mouth stuffed with mud. She survived, but went completely mute, never speaking again. Another was dragged from the washroom in the middle of the night. Only a trail of bloody footprints remained. Everyone whispered the same name now, the Masked Man. Hint of the professor one night, the warden called an emergency meeting. Sitting in the corner of the room was Professor Venkat Rao, the strict, soft-spoken senior lecturer. He rarely attended hostel matters, but now he listened silently as the warden shouted at the girls for creating panic. His eyes lingered on the terrified faces a little too long. When the meeting ended, he walked out slowly, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. One girl swore she saw him smiling to himself in the dark. That same night, another girl disappeared. This time, the attacker left something behind on purpose. A blood-stained note pinned to the hostel gate with a knife. It read, "I'm not done yet." The professor's sin. The hostel was shutting down, but the fear wasn't leaving. Some girls were still there waiting for transport. Some were hiding, afraid to even step out. But the Masked Man, he was waiting too. Incident 9. The last night in Hostel Shruti, a bubbly, talkative girl was packing her clothes in room 113. Her roommate had already left. The corridor outside was silent, too silent. Suddenly, she heard a faint tap, tap, tap on her door. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice trembling. No answer. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Nothing. Empty hallway. She slowly opened the door. A white mask was hanging on the handle, staring at her. Before she could scream, a hand came from behind, covered her mouth, and dragged her inside. The next morning, Shruti's room was empty. But on her bed, a single sentence was carved with a knife. "Beauty sleeps in my arms now." Police pressure and Venkat Rao's calm face. The college management was almost collapsing under police pressure. Professor Venkat Rao was everywhere, giving statements, calming students, suggesting security measures. But inside, his heart was beating to a different rhythm. That night, when he returned to his quarter, he looked at the old photograph on his wall. A picture of him, 20 years younger, standing with a girl in a red dress. He smiled. "You started this, Kavitha. You made me what I am." Flashback begins. Venkat Rao's dark descent, flashback scene. 1. The Desire. Awakens. 25 years ago, Venkat Rao was a young assistant professor in the same university. Brilliant, respected. From a poor background but ambitious. Then came Kavitha, a final year student. Beautiful, innocent, from a small village. She came to him for financial help to pay her fees. He gave her money, more than once, and then he asked for something in return. At first, she refused, but then desperation won. She agreed. Venkat Rao tasted power that day, and he loved it. Flashback Scene 2. The betrayal months passed. Venkat Rao was obsessed with her, but Kavitha was playing a game. She pretended to love him, took money, and secretly got engaged to someone else. When Venkat Rao found out, something snapped. He called her to Narak Bhavan, saying he wanted to give her more money for marriage. She came. He begged her not to leave him. She laughed, said he was just an old fool with money. That laugh still echoed in his ears when he wrapped his hands around her neck and squeezed. Kavitha's lifeless body lay on the floor of Narak Bhavan. Venkat Rao dug a hole in the basement and buried her there. That was the night the professor turned into a monster. Present day, the mask returns. Venkat Rao opened his cupboard. Inside was a box. He opened it slowly. Inside were 7 white masks, each with a number written inside, and a diary. On the first page, in bold letters, for Kavitha. He picked up a mask, wore it, and looked in the mirror. The old man was gone. The monster smiled back. Incident 10. The Forest Trap. Begins. Meanwhile, Ananya, Kavitha's childhood friend, now a student in the same college, had been silently investigating. She had lost her best friend years ago under mysterious circumstances. Now, the same building, the same killings, she knew the truth was buried there. She also knew Venkat Rao's weakness. She sent him a message from an unknown number. "Sir, I am in trouble. I need money. Please meet me near the old building at 10 p.m., alone." Venkat Rao's lips curled into a sick smile. The game was about to end. But not the way he thought. The clock hits 10:30 p.m. Venkat Rao, wearing his white mask under his coat, walks toward the deserted forest path behind the girls' hostel, holding a knife inside his pocket. He is humming that same tune. Behind the trees, Ananya and 2 of her friends wait with something deadly in their hands. The hunt is about to turn. The Masked Face. The girls' hostel had turned into a graveyard of whispers. Every corner felt alive, every shadow moved. Even during the day, no one wanted to step outside alone. The masked man was no longer just a rumor. He was real. And now, he was playing games. Incident 7. The Red Sari. One evening, Meena, a second-year student, went to dry her clothes on the terrace of the hostel. She didn't return. The next morning, hanging among the dresses was a blood-red sari, dripping with fresh blood. Inside it, a note was pinned. "She wore this when I danced with her last night. Do you want to dance too?" The sari wasn't hers, but everyone understood the meaning. Incident 8. The Mirror Game. 2 girls, Nisha and Pooja, stayed in room 207. One night, Nisha woke up to the sound of water running in the bathroom. She thought Pooja was inside, But when she checked, the bathroom door was wide open. Inside, the mirror was fogged as if someone had taken a hot shower. On the glass, with a finger, someone had written, "I see you." Nisha screamed and ran back to the room. But Pooja wasn't there. Her bed was empty. Pooja's body was found hanging inside Narak Bhavan, her eyes gouged out, her mouth sewn shut. Campus and chaos police swarmed the campus. Media vans lined the gates. Parents staged protests. The college management announced an indefinite holiday, asking students to vacate immediately. But for some girls, it was too late. The masked man was hunting them one by one, and he wasn't done yet. A strange discovery. While searching Narak Bhavan, police found something in the basement. A secret room, locked from the inside. Inside, Polaroid photos of girls from the hostel. Some were smiling, some were crying, some were dead. A collection of women's clothes neatly folded. And on the wall, written in blood, "Beauty must suffer before it shines." Venkat Rao's shadow. Professor Venkat Rao volunteered to help police with student details. His calm voice and polite smile made everyone trust him. But that night, after everyone left, he stayed in the campus library alone. He opened a drawer and pulled out something hidden under old newspapers, a white mask, bloodstains on the edges. He held it in his hands and whispered, "You think you can find me? Let's see." Then he carefully placed it back, locked the drawer, and walked out into the dark corridor, humming a tune. The episode ends with a chilling scene. A group of girls is packing their bags to leave the hostel. Suddenly, the lights go out. A single voice echoes from the hallway. "Leaving so soon? I was just getting started." The camera pans to the corridor. A figure stands there, tall, wearing the white mask, in his hand, a rusty sickle dripping blood. Fade out. The monster in the mask. The forest behind the hostel was silent that night. No crickets, no wind, just the sound of a man humming an old tune. Venkat Rao walked slowly, his steps crunching the dry leaves, the knife hidden in his coat pocket, the white mask strapped under his shirt. His eyes glittered with hunger. He was ready for kill number 7. The trap begins. At the edge of the forest, Ananya waited, her phone clutched tight, sweat dripping down her forehead. She wasn't alone. Her friends Suma and Deepthi were hiding behind the bushes with a rope and a stick dipped in kerosene. They knew this could go very wrong, but they had no choice. The police were useless. It was time for revenge. Venkat Rao reached the clearing. He saw Ananya standing alone, her head down, her voice trembling. "Sir, thank you for coming. I don't know who else to ask for help." Venkat Rao smiled, his teeth glinting under the moonlight. "Don't worry, child. I'm always here for my students." He stepped closer. 1 step, 2 steps. Then, he pulled out the mask and wore it. Ananya's eyes widened, and then the knife appeared in his hand. "You look just like her, Ananya, just like Kavitha. Tonight, you'll sleep with me forever." The fight for life. Before he could lunge, Deepthi kicked him from behind. The knife slipped from his hand. Venkat Rao roared like a beast and turned, slapping Deepthi so hard she fell to the ground. Ananya grabbed the stick and set it on fire, swinging it toward him. The flames lit up the forest. Venkat Rao snarled, grabbed the stick with his bare hand, and threw it aside. His palm burned, but he didn't care. He caught Ananya by the hair and dragged her toward him. "You think you can trap me? You think I didn't smell this plan from miles away?" he hissed. His other hand reached for her throat. But then Suma looped the rope around his neck from behind and pulled with all her strength. Venkat Rao thrashed like a wild animal, kicking, clawing, trying to tear the rope away. But the girls held on. "Pull harder!" Ananya screamed, coughing. Venkat Rao's face turned red, then purple. His eyes bulged. Still, he kept fighting, even biting Suma's arm. Finally, he collapsed to his knees. The monster was choking, but not dead yet. The final blow, Ananya grabbed the knife from the ground. Her hands shook, but her eyes were filled with rage. She remembered every girl, every scream, every carved message. She raised the knife high and stabbed it straight into Venkat Rao's chest. Once, twice. Blood sprayed across her face, warm and sticky. He gurgled, trying to speak, but only blood came out. His mask fell to the ground, now painted red. The great professor was gone. But the horror isn't over. They stood there, panting, trembling, their clothes soaked in blood. And then something caught Ananya's eye. Venkat Rao's coat had fallen open. Inside, a diary was tucked in his shirt pocket. Ananya pulled it out with trembling hands. On the first page, written in blood-red ink, for Kavitha. 7 girls to pay for her betrayal. 7 souls for my revenge. 4 buried. 3 to go. There were names listed, some crossed out. The last name was Ananya. The girls froze, but then Sumat whispered, "Look at this last line." It said, "If I die, Narak Bhavan will still live. She is still there. She calls me every night, and soon she will call you too." Final scene. Back to Narak Bhavan, police sirens wailed in the distance. The girls burned Venkat Rao's body in the forest, making it look like an accident. But as they walked away, Ananya turned to look at the dark silhouette of Narak Bhavan. In the top window, a woman in a red dress was watching them, her face pale, her eyes empty. And then she smiled. The screen fades to black, but one sound remains, the same old tune humming softly from inside the building.